So let's learn how to make air-fried barbecue salmon. Kind of like the burnt ends on a brisket. We want a little bit of color in there, a little bit of char. So don't be complaining saying I burned it. We're actually looking for that. Along the way, we're gonna learn a few tips and tricks that you might not find in the recipe down below. So let's jump right into it. So here we have some Alaskan king salmon, kind of thinking of a replacement for pulled pork. Pulled pork's usually very fatty, so we want some fatty salmon. It's already pin boned. Kyle was nice enough to do that for us. If you want to learn more about pin boning, we have other activities that can walk you through that. Also how to purchase salmon and other fun things you can do. We want to remove the skin. This is a very short cook, so let's get that skin off. So when you're removing the skin, how I personally like to do it is put it at the very edge of the table. That way, because if you're looking at your knife, it's obviously not flat all the way across because you have the handle right here. So if you're trying to do it on the table, when it's flat or parallel, you're up this high. You try and put your tip down, you know, you're gonna be taking off a chunk of that meat. So pulling it to the edge of the table, that way it's flat. And pull it up, get to the skin, and long strokes. Look at that, we're just rolling it off there. So a lot of people love to remove the bloodline. There isn't very much left. You totally could if you want. I'm just gonna leave it on there. We're gonna cut this into small cubes. This is only a 5-minute cook again, or even a little bit less. So from my experience, you probably want about 1-inch cubes. It doesn't have to be perfect, it could be little rectangles. So, oh, Kyle, you left a bone. No bones. Square up the edges. So when slicing, what I like to do is go about halfway through with one stroke, and then on the back side, I like to pinch it, so that way it's not dragging through the fish. There's a little bit of support there. Just a clean slice. So we're gonna put these in our bowl. Some of these I'm gonna cut a little bit smaller, more of a rectangle. Okay, so there's a couple different ways you can approach this. The important thing that we're adding is baking powder. Baking powder is gonna help accelerate the Maillard reaction, getting us more color quickly, because this is such a quick cook time. We don't want to cook the salmon all the way through. Ideally, it's more of like a medium, kind of maybe medium well, if that. So what I'm gonna do is weigh out your salmon. I'm gonna do, let's say 3.5% baking powder. Simplest way you can do this to get kind of like a barbecue-esque flavor in there with a little bit of smoke is add brown sugar, a little bit of salt, and smoked paprika. Or you can use our rib rub on ChefSteps.com, so I'm gonna do that. But if you want the simple amounts, they're down below in the recipe. So go check it out, both work great. So the reason why I like to dry blend is that way it kind of disperses the baking powder more evenly. That way you're not gonna get like a ton on one piece of salmon and less on the other. Oh, great. So we got our salmon. Let's give it a little. Yes. All right, so obviously the baking powder adhered much better than the rub, but we're gonna add a little bit of oil to this too, and that's gonna help it all stick together, but also fry a little bit more when we go in the oven for air fry. That's all good. Pretty much should pick up all of the rib. Let's get our oven preheating. We're gonna go high temp with this air fry. We're going all the way up to 480. Okay. Again, this only takes 4 to 5 minutes. So let's get all of our other goodies ready before we throw this in the oven. So this is my go-to cabbage salad in a pinch. It's really easy. It's just some shaved green cabbage, red onion, thinly sliced lemon, and we season it with some mustard and vinegar, a little bit of salt, and that's it. So mandolin, that'll make your life so much easier. So typically I like to start my onions on the mandolin just going straight whole like this until it starts getting to almost like full or half rings like that, as you can see the top. What I like to do is pop the core out, and then go on the side, right on the edge right here. I don't like to go in the middle because I might be moving around a little bit. I don't want to cut myself, so. Now we want some lemon in there. That's gonna add a little bit of acid and bitterness as well. And so yeah, we kind of want some brightness. So here you don't want to just like go crazy and start shredding all of it. You kind of want to do like maybe 3 slices. Check to see if you have any seeds, pop those out, and then go again. And you're not looking for perfect rings, you're just looking for nice thin slices. For the cabbage, I like to pop out the outer leaves, so that way I can kind of keep it flat on the table. So we'll start with those. Let's split it in half. Okay. Like you would when you're chiffonading something, just kind of keep it tight, press down, kind of cutting along my middle knuckle. I don't think we're gonna need the rest of the cabbage. So we're gonna add some mustard to it. This is a mustard Kyle picked up from Jacobson Salt Company. Go guys. All right. I like this one because it's kind of like whole grain, but it's cracked, a little bit thinner. Pick your favorite vinegar. Today, Kyle got me Banyuls wine vinegar. We're gonna toast our buns with mayonnaise now while the parsley's coming. Mayonnaise? You could do it without mayonnaise, for sure. What do we think? How many sliders? I'm just gonna start with 6. All right, we're gonna use Kewpie. Kewpie's our favorite mayonnaise because it's the most savory one on the market. Pop these on our basket. So while these are cooking, we'll finish our slaw. All right. This is kind of a bad habit, and I'm gonna show you. Like when you're in a pinch, you don't need to like go through and pick a ton of leaves as long as you've given your parsley a wash. Because I like the stems. Stems add flavor. You don't want to put the parsley in well in advance because the salt's actually gonna denature the color. So probably within 30 minutes before serving is a good time to do it. Let's check them out. I think we're ready. Now let's get our salmon frying. So just set these guys up here. Keep them warm. Because we're going right onto the air fry rack without putting parchment on it, I like to give it a spray with non-stick spray. It's gonna help prevent it from sticking. It's no certain guarantee, but I prefer to do it on the rack because you get constant airflow on all sides. So you get even browning for the most part. If you have the parchment, one side won't get any color. It's looking good. So you can do this with just about any fish. You know, I would recommend a fattier fish than a leaner one, but you know, this is really versatile. Back in the oven. 5-minute timer. So one of my favorite tips while air frying to keep your oven clean, especially if you're not using parchment on your rack, is to put a little bit of parchment actually below it. This allows there to be constant airflow around the food, but also protects it from any drippings that drops down into the elements, which might smoke, might be hard to clean up later. So just like that. Let's give it a check. Oh yeah, it's ready. What I'm looking for is just a gentle squeeze. It flakes just like that. When we put it in a sandwich, it'll kind of compress a little bit and it'll be good eating. Put a little bit of barbecue sauce. Might stick a little bit, that's okay. Should probably do 2 larger pieces per, maybe 3 smaller. Seems like 2 is actually pretty good. Big boy. Nick, are you building a super sandwich? Nope. I like to keep them all together. Makes it easier to work with if it falls over on each other. It's totally cool. You put the top on it, and then you just slice them into about the dimensions of how they would naturally break apart. Okay. Okay. Let's check it out. Dude, that's good. Kind of reminds me of like an actually good pulled pork slider, but it's not as heavy. It's not like a meat mountain. It's a good balance of freshness, kind of crunch from the cabbage. You get that nice onion flavor, you get the sweet barbecue sauce coming through, and a little bit of brown bits from where the spices and the baking soda kind of went through the Maillard process. The salmon's cooked through, it's flaky, it's not overcooked. You're not seeing albumin kind of spilling out everywhere. So it's an awesome recipe. This probably took us, what, 15 minutes, if that? This is a weeknight win. Have it on the weekend at a cookout, bring it to your friend's house, make it as their air fryer. So we have some other ways you can serve this, on top of rice, some lime. You can even dip it in some like honey mustard. So there's lots of ways you can take this salmon. It doesn't have to be sliders, but that's my favorite. So give the recipe a try.